WWDC is less than 1 week away, and today I want to go over everything that we can see from iPadOS 15. Let's start off with the home screen. A lot of this will be similar to what we hope to see with iOS 15. iPadOS 14 brought resizable widgets, and technically widgets were already on the home screen because of the Today View thing that was introduced the previous year, but we weren't able to actually drag the widgets off of the Today View thing and bring it into our apps, which is kind of a bummer because the iPad has so much free space. And since it does have so much space, it would also be nice if we did get more size options available for the widgets, unlike the 3 options that we see on iPhone. Maybe an even bigger, large size widget like an XL or something, I don't know. And on top of that, we could also see an app library with iPadOS 15. We could also hopefully see that new macOS redesigned control center on iPad as well. I'd also like to be able to remove text from widgets and apps on the iPad much like you can on Android, and on top of that, it'd be nice to see a redesigned menu bar, because the one right now is kind of boring. The same goes for iOS as well. I like the macOS menu bar a lot, but the one on iPads and iPhones is just getting kind of boring, so maybe you could spice it up a bit. And lastly, for the home screen, maybe we could be able to have the dock always there. I don't know if this is an actual leak or a rumor, but personally I think that it would be cool if we could have like an always on dock option. Next is Pro Apps. We have to get these with iPadOS 15. Like, if we do not get these, or some sort of advanced sort of desktop application sort of thing. But Pro Apps, so Final Cut, Xcode, Logic, personally Final Cut would be more important, but we really need to see these. Apple wouldn't just take an M1 and then just whip it at an iPad and just leave everything as is. I mean, technically Tim Cook did disguise himself and run into Apple Park and steal it out of a MacBook or Air or Pro and then bring it into his iPad Pro and then put it there, but he would do that for a reason, right? Because right now, the M1 really isn't that much faster than the A12Z iPad Pro. And here's why. Because iPad apps are limited to only using 5 gigs of RAM. At least, that's what I think. There are plenty of 2020 iPad Pro versus 2021 iPad Pro comparisons on YouTube already, and while the M1 iPad Pro is faster at some things like gaming, noticeably so, when it comes to video editing and video exporting, it's really no difference, like 5-10% faster render times and stuff.
That is so weird. The M1 was 12 seconds slower.
And to add on to that, iPads have been getting over 5 gigs of RAM for over 2.5 years now. I think it was the 2018 iPad Pros, only the 1TB versions, that actually came with 6 GB of RAM instead of 4. And the 2020 iPad Pros came with 6, and the 2021 iPad Pros come with 8 gigs of RAM on the 128, 256, and 512 GB storage options, whereas on the 1TB and 2TB storage options, they come with 16 gigs of RAM. Apple specified this in the tech specs section, which they've never done before. Since we now are getting over 3 times as much RAM that can actually be used by an iPad on some iPad Pros, I think that this is almost proof that we are going to be seeing Pro apps or some sort of more advanced apps that can actually take advantage of this. I'm guessing that it's Pro apps though. As for the compatibility, I'm hoping that it's the iPad Pros with the A12X chip and later. Based off of these, it'll be supported on the 2018 iPad Pros and later, as well as the 2020 iPad Air. Moving on, better file management. Personally, I'm completely fine with it. Well, almost completely fine with it. I don't really do a bunch of files work. I only tap into files whenever I need to read a PDF, which is not that often. I save report cards there, and I use it to transfer my videos, which is where my really one and only problem stands. No status bar. We are not able to see how much of our files are transferring at all. Whenever I'm trying to transfer files onto my iPad, I can't see how much of it is done. One time I sat my iPad down to transfer a bunch of files from a video for like 2 hours while I went and played some video games. I came back and it was still transferring, and I couldn't tell if anything was wrong, so I canceled and restarted it, and this time it only took 20 minutes to transfer everything. I'm not the only one with this issue, and I know that a lot of people hate just not being able to see how much of the files they are transferring or have already transferred. Now I've just resorted to tapping the save videos button rather than transferring all the files, but it'd also be nice to get a status bar for that rather than having to go to the Photos app and then having to check if the files are transferring. It's just a whole mess, it's a whole pain in the butt, and I think that we can definitely see it improved. This next one I care about a lot, and that is external display support, which is absolutely garbage on iPads right now. It is like the epitome of trash. You can only mirror your screen. That's it. You can just mirror it and you're done. And that really sucks because you can't really use another display as an extended display, which is something that I'd really like to do. Really, the only time that it's ever been useful was back when I used to edit an iMovie and I could see just the full preview of the display on the TV where I edited on the iPad. And to be honest, that's not really useful. I'd just like to get some proper external display support. And for the minor things, we could hopefully see a redesigned lock screen, much like we hope to see from iOS 15, be able to set different notification statuses and automatic responses, more default apps like calendar apps or photo apps, and lastly, Siri. Like, can it seriously get better? Siri is, how do I put this nicely?
2 hours later.
It's really bad. That's the nicest I can put it. So finally, the compatibility. And this is where it gets a bit conflicted. So as far as we know, 100% the iPad mini 4 and the iPad Air 2 are going to get dropped with this update. That marks an amazing 7 years of software support on the iPad Air 2 and 6 on the iPad mini 4. Which is crazy. And 7 years, I think that's as long as a Mac is supported. But it starts to get conflicted around whether the iPad 5th gen and the iPad Pro 9.7 inch will make the cut. As far as I know, Apple gives you at least 4 years of software updates on a product right after its release, and up to at least, I think, 2 years from when it's last available new directly from Apple. Which means that both the 2016 iPad Pro and the 2017 iPad 5th gen could get dropped. I'm not sure exactly, again, the parameters of this update. It might be an A10 and later update in which the iPad Pro, the original from 2015, could also get dropped. We could call it the red zone, or the conflicted zone. If you are holding on to a 2015 or 2016 iPad Pro or a 2017 iPad 5th gen, then you might get your device dropped with this update. If you are holding on to an iPad Air 2 or a Mini 4, you are for sure going to be dropped with this update. The release is most likely September, again. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see the most from iPadOS 15 down in the comments below. If you are still here, thank you for making it until this point in the video. And if you did enjoy, please do leave a like and subscribe. Greatly helps me out. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.